Hello, hello. Are we live?
Hey, everybody.
There we are.
Another thrilling episode of Yacht Club Games Explains.
That's right. And we're here with your hosts. I'm Sean,
And I'm David.
and I'm a designer.
And I'm a programmer. And we're going to talk today about balancing Mina's economy, in particular, all the bones, which is the currency in Mina's game, and how we went about like placing them and figuring out how many bones should be in the game. If you saw our recent post on Friday, there's something like 282,000 bones in the game.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And we placed them all down, and we had to balance them all.
We had to figure out how to place 282,000 bones. How did we
That
figure that out? That's what we're going to talk about.
that number was like roughly in a spreadsheet somewhere, and we had to arrive at it somehow. I'm not sure I remember exactly. This is going to be a real process.
All right, so let's dig in.
Okay.
So yeah, for those that don't know, Mina is a big old RPG. It's like, a little bit modeled after old Zelda games or old top-down RPGs, where meaning like it's a game where you get equipment and you level up. And in Mina, when you can level up 10 times, and we have a few different stats: attack stats, sidearm stat, which is your sub weapon, and a defense stat. And then there's a fourth option, which we can talk about, which is a Bonestone stat, which essentially the way the leveling up works in the game is that when you get enough bones, the currencies, you will get forcibly level up prompt, and you have to choose on the spot. And since we also wanted the bones to be your main currency, to bring to shops and stuff, we needed a fourth option to say, hey, I want to keep this as my currency. Otherwise, you'll never have money to spend on shops. You'll only be able to level up. So I think, Sean you wanted to show some Zelda 2, which is where the main inspiration for this level up system came from.
Right. Yeah. Here, let's click around a little bit. This is the original Zelda 2, or at least this is the table that we used. So I hope it's right. And it talks about all of the levels. Here, wait. This should probably be like larger, right? It's probably too small. Here. So I got to change my stream. Here we go. Okay.
So Zelda 2 has a real similar system where you are forced into a level up based on if you reach the right amount of experience instead of a currency, like it's experience in Zelda.
Right. So it's like to get to level 2 is 50, to get to level 3 is 150, to get to level 4 is 400 experience. Like this is how the ramp works here. And strangely, in the Japanese version of the game, these are all even. Like in the Famicom disc version, but the Heart, Magic, and Sword are actually different in Zelda 2, the NES version. So they actually changed how it all worked. Yeah, you can see that here your health increases, or like your offensive strength increases, but the ramp goes down.
Right. So we wanted this sort of similar system where you had like a small number of levels, like 10, right? As opposed to like
like a Soulsborne or something where
a Dragon Quest might have like 30, right? And a Souls game might have 50. We are going with like a small amount, 10, and a few categories. So like very simple in terms of the RPG-ness. And so that was like the goal for the system. And so we first started in terms of like how to figure out how to balance. Essentially, we knew, you're going to be spending your currency on this, right? So how much should go into each level? We just pinned numbers. Like basically we said we're gonna have like the first level is going to be like 100, and the last level, the level 9 to 10, will be 9,999.
Right. And we like sort of started in the Zelda territory, right? We're like, oh yeah, it'll like start at 100 and it'll like end at 9999. That's like a very like video gamey like thing to do, right? You got to end at 9999.
Right.
It's like
that's how you know you're at the end, right?
Right. They can't get higher than that.
Yeah, this is the last one because it like seems like the last one.
Right.
Yeah, so we, and then we looked at a bunch of like basically other equations kind of stuff that games were using, like Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, this Zelda 2, name an RPG. We probably looked at Dark Souls, which is like impossibly no one can figure it out.
Yeah,
Like all these like equations for essentially how do they go from level to level, how many, that kind of stuff.
right.
And
That's like
essentially they all followed some kind of like squaring algorithm, some kind of exponential. Um, and you can see like we wrote like a brief equation there. Um, and what we were trying to do was figure out like how many bones were in each level and like how much like how many levels you would get with a certain amount of bones kind of thing.
right.
Um, and once we did that, we like went through and we set how many bones you should be at each section, and then we sort of set at the you
What
can
level
see.
we should be at each section, right?
Yeah, so we went and in this, this big t- production, this spreadsheet, which is often how we're doing, especially like
We
balancing kind of things.
love spreadsheets. Nothing's more
You
fun
can
than
see here we got a lot of columns, and what we were sort of trying to figure out is for like each level in the game, what level did we want you to be at? And like what would that mean in terms of your bones? Like how many bones would you need to be there? Just following the formula straight up, like not even thinking about, not even thinking about, oh, it'd be cool to have 10,000 bones here, right? So you can see, and you can see we did it sort of in tiers because we knew it would be open-ended game, right? So we said, if you go to, buy your crypt first, it doesn't, or you explore the overworld first, it doesn't really matter from our point of view. We're gonna say you're gonna do some amount of exploration, then you're gonna go to a tier one stage, then you're gonna do some amount of exploration, you're gonna go to a tier two stage, that kind of stuff, that kind of
right.
thing.
There's more bones in the tier 2
Um,
stages. They're more difficult, etc.
Right, and in terms of, like, the number of levels, it worked out really nicely because basically we said, "You're 333 on the 3rd level, you're 444 on the 4th level, you're 555 on the 5th level," in terms of your leveling. Um,
Right.
yep. So you can see, like, over, more on the right in the spreadsheets, we basically went through and we were, use those formulas to calculate how many bones should be in each tier based on how many times we expected you to level up.
Right. So if you're going to level up a bunch of time, or if you're going to level up 3 times, then we multiply it by 3 here, and that's your average, right?
Right, and a level
Simple.
up here means it means just, like, one category of level up, right? So if you're, like, we might say you're level 3 in the game when you have 3 attack, 3 defense, and 3 sidearm, but that's actually, like, 9 levels because you had to level up 9 times to get to that level.
Right.
Or
Right. You're like level 333, but that's like level 9. And we used to count Bonestone in this a calculation as well, right? Where like Bonestone counts as a level, but then later
right.
we realized that was like a mistake and we were double counting it.
Yes, I mean, we'll get to that in the polishing part, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Uh,
sorry, yeah, I forgot that's
yeah,
a fun
we
story.
made some critical errors as we often do. Um, but yeah, so yeah, and you can see we just went through these tiers and essentially, applied the numbers and formulas to it.
You can see how it
And one
scales.
Yeah, one thing you can see that we were like considering too is just how much you might be spending money on non-leveling too. So you can see there's a column called money spent. And then you can see like levels worth of money spent. So we essentially said, you know, we these are basically we just assigned these, right? We're gonna assume you spend that you get to level 5 and you leveled up 5 times, and we're gonna assume you spend 5 levels worth of money.
Right.
So if it takes 5,000 bones to get to level 5, we're gonna assume you spend 5,000 bones in the shops.
Right. And
Um,
that helped us to price out things as well because it's like, oh, one level's
right.
worth of your money when you're really high level is like 10,000 bones. So that means like 10,000 bones is going to be valuable because that's what a level up is. But like, when you're only on level 1 or level 2, then like 100 bones or like 200 bones seems like a lot.
Right, and when we'd say, "Oh, this should be a cheap item," what's like a we know
Just
we're in tier 3, it should be a cheap item. What's a level up at tier 3? A level up is, 2,000 bones, so a cheap item's probably like 500 bones, is a quarter of a level up. That's how we set all the prices in the game.
yeah, yep.
It was all based on this, like, leveling up mechanics.
On this
Yep.
spreadsheet.
Um Okay, so then we knew once we went through all this, we knew how many bones. Essentially, we knew how many bones would be at each tier, how many bones would be in each part of the game, how many bones you would be spending on shops, how many bones you'd be spending on level ups, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That brings us like to down below in this production doc, where we essentially went through each, like we knew the how much would go into each tier, right? But the way the levels work, you might some of them like some levels have all the bones, or all of them apply to one tier, or something like Osix has bones in every tier, right? Because you keep coming back to the
Right.
main city
Right. We
as like your
decided to,
hub.
yeah, we're
Um,
deciding to put tiers as our thing, but like not everything fit neatly into a tier, right? Like Osix doesn't fit into a tier, like overworlds don't fit into a tier because you're crossing back and forth over them all the time.
right. So what we essentially had to do is, basically we're saying how many of those bones from those tiers go into which stages. And you can see that some of them, these like numbers, the decimal like 0.7, 0.3 kind of stuff, is we're saying, oh, part of Overworld South, 70% of it is tier 1, but we're going to say 30% of it is tier 2.
Right. Because like your first time through here, you're going to clean up 70% of the content. And then like on the way back in tier two, or like when you're in tier two, you're going to get the last of it. And then like tier three and tier four, there's nothing tier three or tier four related here.
Yeah, so you can see all these like yellow, the F, column F here, all the yellow stuff is we are setting these by hand based on what's above, like based on, but we're trying, but essentially we're like setting these by hand to try to get the math to work out with what we did above.
Right. Yes. And there's
Um,
definitely some wiggle room.
Oh yes, there's lots of yeah. Keep in mind, like through this whole process, we knew that like we're taking a huge stab at the entire game's economy when we're setting this up, and
Yeah.
we could make either very small mistakes or colossal mistakes when doing it. But we got to start somewhere, right? So like if these numbers are off by like 5%, we're like it's like no biggie, right?
Yeah.
um we'll like fix it in post, as I say.
Yeah. I mean, even if we can
um
approach, even if we can approach it being correct, then like that's a huge, huge win.
right, and just to be like, say we have some consistency how we set it up across the whole game, right?
Yeah.
um so, oh, and I should mention that when we do set like when we set up the levels, like people played the crypt demo years ago, right, for the Kickstarter. And though that obviously that had bones in it, people were collecting, and those prices that we were like those costs of the bones, how much currency was in the world at that time, was sort of just placed by like, oh, this would be like we for gameplay reasons want a bone here, but we knew we would come back and essentially redo all the bones.
Yeah. Right. But
So
the
we
bones
knew,
are
but
still all
we
placed
did
by
have some
hand.
sense of like, here's where a big bone
Yeah.
right. So here's where like the big bone goes in the level. Here's like where small bones are. Here's where like bones are there for you to like help you indicate gameplay, like, oh, this is the path that you need to take, all those kind of reasons you would use bones. Like we already placed them in the levels, and this we're making this after the fact going now, okay, now we have to like set those bone values for realsies. um yeah, so I guess the next step, we set all these bones, we figure out how much is in each area. We know how much is in each level. Then the next step is essentially like, uh, we know that amount of bones is going into levels, but how is it distributed among the things that can get bones? So like enemies can drop bones, bosses can drop bones. You can get Bonestones, which are like bone stone is like a thing you can get later, or turn in for bones later, which are usually like given to out of treasure chests, and like they're like big things you can find. Um, so we sort of had to come up with like, what's the logic for why if you have 1,000 bones, should 200 go to the enemy? Should 500 go to like pickups in the world? How do we set that? right?
Yep.
And I mean the main thing we were thinking about here is like basically what do we have different ways that bones work. So like if you kill an enemy and you die and you respawn, the enemy comes back, right? But if you pick up a bone stone, that's like you have that and you can never get that again. So essentially like enemies can be farmed. They can like you can continue to kill enemies and level up and get as much money out of them as you want. But the other stuff can't. And I guess there's like another category which is like bosses, which is like a big reward for doing something, right? You like there might only be one or two of these in a stage, but you like want to make it so that was worth doing.
Of course. The other thing about
Yeah,
bosses is because they appear at the end, then you can generally give the boss reward and it like won't be lost. You know, like if you give players a bunch of
right.
bones throughout the level, then they're going to fall in a pit and lose them all. And it's like, you know, but if you actually have, if you apply it to the boss, then it's like, oh, they get it immediately and they can take it right back to wherever they're going. So, I mean, it's less, it's not, nothing is a sure thing, but it's a little bit more.
Right. So basically, what we said in this game is you can see these percentages here. We said we sort of classified them by area. So, like a core stage, an overworld stage, or an overworld stage that has a boss in it. Because not all the the overworlds are what we're calling the like stages that connect you to the big stages in the game, the
Right.
generators. If you know the plot of the game is you're trying to fix 6 generators, and the overworlds like get you to those levels that have the generators in them.
Right. It's like the
Um,
connective tissue in between everything. And so it has a
yeah,
different, it has like different proportions for everything because we figured it's going to be, I mean, well, mostly because of the boss and the bone stone, I guess is a little bit different too, because we wanted to have more, we wanted you to have more money to be spending, I think, when you're running around in the overworld areas.
right. So
I
we
like,
and I would say we mostly set this based on like how much farming or like how much we wanted you to be able to like and you can see enemies are set lower than everything else generally, and that is just to say like we don't want you to be able to like in the levels just like hit the enemies over and over and just get all the money, and that sort of, and if you can do that, that sort of devalues all the other bones in the game, right? So we're trying to keep that low but like high enough that you still can do that.
right. If you're
um
screwed, then you know, hopefully you
yes,
aren't screwed.
if you're doing badly in the game or you're losing lots of bones, you need like some way to account for that, right? So we wanted to make sure that it's still like there's still an element there, but it's not overpowering.
Right. There were definitely some enemies in some areas where we had to knock down the amount of experience that they had because they were like too valuable and they were right near a checkpoint. And then, you know, our testers would farm them and get a bunch of levels too quickly. And it's like, okay, we can't, you know, cannot abide this.
Right. So I mean the next thing after that is we set all these values and we went into the stages, and we reset how much value was in each bone in the entire game. Which is a tremendous amount of work, obviously.
Yeah. I think in
Um
the future, it might be good to call the bones like, you know, high value,
High bones,
median
yes.
value, you know, and then we could
Right.
scale them next time.
Yeah,
That would
we
have
could do it,
saved
man,
about the game could have came out 2 months earlier.
right. But we didn't do that because we were dumb. And I'm gonna show something off in game if you wanna show that.
Oh yeah,
Let
let's see
me
if I can swap to you. Are you ready?
I'm gonna be ready in a second.
Let me see.
S
Hmm.
So we built something essentially in game. Like we build all these, we build all these production sheets that describe everything that should go in the game and where it should be, but we always want a way to like verify it. Or if we're making changes and we're sort of like we're going off the production sheet now, we might make some changes, and so we built this tool
Are you
called
sharing it?
the yes, can you see it?
Currently, no. I'm trying to share it. Let me see. That's my application. Guest screen share. And let me grab it. Uh,
La di da.
Okay. Okay. I
Oh,
think you
you
got
got it.
yeah, you got it. We're going. Here we go. We're
All
going.
right, so this is like the totals display, which is essentially, here's Mina, it's running. Anytime you can pull this up and you can see like how many bones are in the level, how many enemies are in the level, how much, how many checkpoints, that kind of stuff. And we have a even more granular one that is like how much money is in every level, and you can see we even split it up into tiers,
We
right?
stratified it by tier. I'm
So
getting
how
I'm,
many
I'm getting like like flashbacks.
right? You're like, "Ah, I gotta
Uh,
make these
uh,
numbers fine."
uh, yeah,
So when we first put it in, it's like trying to get these numbers to max that production sheet as much as possible, right? It's like making sure we have the right amount of pickups, right? Sure, the right amount come from bosses, making sure the right amount comes from enemies, making sure it's like matches all those tier levels.
right. In
Um,
PCs that
and
throw gold
like
at you.
Right. And a lot of times this thing isn't actually working too. It's like Sean's like, I put in that many bones. I swear I counted them all. And it's like, oh yeah, we're not accounting for that. That NPC we like didn't put
Yeah,
into this algorithm that's like going into the totals, right?
yeah. Whoops, we forgot.
Or we forgot that an NPC like needs to hand out money, right? Oh no, oh no, we gotta like oh this boss. It turns out this boss was never giving you gold. So I mean, this is like how like it serves a lot of purposes, which is like it's checking everyone's doing their job right, even if this tool itself is doing its job right.
Right.
um yeah, so we put this all in, and like Sean alluded to, the first really big mistake we found is that we have these four categories for leveling up, and one of them is Bonestone. And we essentially treated that Bonestone category like any category. But if you level up Bonestone, you're essentially like trading gold for gold.
You still have the
It's
money.
not
Yeah.
like we were treating it like you were spending it. You were spending it, but you're not actually spending it. You're choosing to keep it. So we had to go through all the levels again and reduce the amount of gold by like one quarter, or however much the level up accounts for in the total grand scheme of things.
Yeah. We ended up bumping up the enemies too a little bit, right?
Yeah, so that was
Like in the
yes,
end.
yes.
Yeah.
So one big thing after that is we just felt like, oh, it like you weren't getting enough from the enemies. I think we started with like a 10% value on those enemies, and we ended up with like a 20%. And that's like an easier change because all the values from the enemies come from in the stages, but we did have to make like slight adjustments to like, well, there's a little less bone stone, a little less bones. Um, and then I guess there was a little bit of too of like shuffling, like, oh, it's lame to get, you're in this part of the overworld. We want you to get like 1,000 bones. Like you got 200 bones. That's like not enough, right?
Right.
For
Just
being in
doesn't
this
feel
part or
good.
whatever. We
Yeah.
did like a little bit of like, yeah, right. Shuffling it around based on like, I played this really hard section. I feel like I deserve to get something. But that said, we made those kind of adjustments, and this like very worked very well overall. I would say we were sort of in shock as
Surprisingly
people
good.
that had
Yeah.
like never made an RPG before. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
has never made an RPG, never done anything really remotely like this. I mean, like maybe King of Cards, the cards getting distributed through the world is like the closest thing we've done. But yeah, like have it, but we just use this essentially the same mechanisms we do for trying to balance anything or trying to design anything. We're like starting from the top using spreadsheets and all this, and trying to just like, we're not going by feel, right? We're going by like, we're gonna like hard design the
Right.
numbers and
Or
make
maybe
sure it
we
all
started
works,
by
and
feel,
then
right?
after that we might
Like
do
we
like little
began with
adjustments based
Zelda
on feel.
2, like like 50 points to 99.99, and it's like that part was kind of like based on feel. Uh
Yeah,
but
you
then
start
after
like
that,
it
yeah.
starts with like an emotional thing, or a thought, or like an idea, right? And then we take that and we sort of make it into like a harder design, the same way we take the sidearm. Oh, an umbrella sounds cool, like in our last one, right? Let's do a parasol that blocks things. That sounds fun. And then we take that and make it more like granular, and like we say it takes two tiles or whatever. We're sort of doing that same process here. Uh, yeah, and then, I mean, then we're playing the game a bunch, and, uh, we had a we had, like, 2, I think, big sort of offsets to this, which was one is that we were at the end of the stages after you beat a boss and then you go into a generator and you do like we didn't really know what the generators were when we were designing this economy stuff, but we figured like a certain number of bones would go in this generator, and it became sort of like a little bonus mini game of getting bones.
Right. The
And we knew it would
generator
be
is the
something
thing that
along those lines.
is like happens
And
after the boss
initially,
and
we
is a bonus. Yeah.
Right. So initially we thought it would be like, oh, you're going to get some amount of bones sort of like for free. And we ended up turning that in. When people were playing the game, what would happen is they would get to the generator, get those bones, and on their way back to the town, they would lose those bones. Or they would spend them on level ups, which like both we sort of didn't want. And so we turned those bones into basically one huge bone stone that you got. So that sort of like was a big offset of the economy. And it sort of was like it basically was like our Shovel Knight solution too. Like in Shovel Knight, when you beat the boss, you get this like huge bone cache. And we have the same thing at the campfires where you get the huge
Right.
amount
The
of
money.
bones and you get the health. It was like, oh, let's just salve it the same way that we did there.
Mhm.
Um, and the other big thing we did was we introduced a pawn shop. Um, so we had the this basically we were finding that we were going around the world collecting, all these items, and it turned out like there was like a few problems we needed to solve. One was that like we needed to balance the game better for like different kinds of players. So like an expert player would get all the bones and be fine, right? And a bad player might like not get all the bones, like might not search for secrets at all and not get all the bones. And they're just like digging a bigger hole for themselves, right? So there's like that problem. And then there's the problem of you're going around. This game has a ton of stuff in it, right? It has 60 trinkets you can find. It has, 15 weapons and upgrades you can find. Um, it has lots of things you can pick up and, keys and blah, 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 everything you could imagine. Lots of health, and we just were finding that it was fun to get everything and find everything. But there were lots of players that just were like, I picked this equipment and I'm sticking with it.
Right. I mean, you
Right?
can only hold so many
So you'd
things.
find those things and you'd be like, oh, cool, but I'm not gonna use it." Right. You can only hold so many things. So it's like, "Oh, cool, I like that, but I like what I got too, so I'm not gonna use that." And we just felt like it would be interesting and fun if you could use those and play into the economy in the way you would like that, in a way that was, you didn't have to just, like, toss those things aside, essentially. Um, and the final thing was basically there's one part in the game where you need a very large sum of money to proceed, and some people would just spend all their money all the time and would not save up for that part of the game. So we have these like core problems, and the solution to all of them was a pawn shop. And in the pawn shop is like the way it works is there's a pawn shop and you have a character in that essentially you can sell any of your items, like your anything you pick up, any trinkets you have, any your weapon you can sell to them, and you can get like a big payday basically for selling them at the cost of, if you want it back, you got to buy it for a higher price, just like a normal pawn shop. um and that that was like, oh, it solves all those problems in one fell swoop. It was amazing. That introduced a little bit of its own set of problems, right? Like, if you could sell anything at the pawn shop, you could sure make a lot of money really fast.
Yeah. So we needed a limit.
So we needed to add a limit of how many items you could sell. Um, and we had to do a lot of like math essentially around what were the costs. Like, some items we didn't even ever associate a cost with, right? You would find a trinket in the world, so we just say how much value each one thing is worth. and then we'd have to focus, like, make sure it's like you can't sell it for too much. You can sell it for like amount that helps you, but not too much that it breaks it. Um, that kind of stuff. And we sort of and we use the same like algorithms of the like here's what a level costs. So if you're finding this trinket in the third stage, like it should cost like a quarter of a level, that kind of stuff. And when you sell it back, it should, get you this much so it can't offset how much you can level. Um yeah, and all that said, that basically, like, put a bow on the whole system, and it also provided, like, other additional benefits, like, you could now we had a way that, like, when you started the game, you could just sell all your health, right? And you could, like, sorta modify the difficulty or add a
Mhm.
new challenge for
Your
yourself.
initial stuff. I mean,
Um,
that was one of the neatest things
so
is
it's
like,
like a it's like
yeah, being able to get rid of it all and just like have nothing.
right. It's right. Like, I don't ever want a trinket, I'll just sell my ability to have trinkets altogether.
Yeah.
Um And I think that's all there is to say about balancing the economy.
Yeah, I mean,
So maybe now it's questions time?
okay, let's do it. Let's see if we can get the I'm not sure that I can that see the question window right now. It keeps saying chat's disabled on this live stream.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and I'm gonna keep trying though, and we can just talk about the questions.
Okay. All right. How did the bones become the idea of the currency?
Uh,
Do you remember that? I'm not sure I remember exactly.
how are bones the
Are you
currency?
still searching for setting up the chat?
Yes. Sorry, I know we have a little bit of a delay here. I'm not gonna
I mean,
search for the chat anymore.
I know we were like we should have something creepy and weird as our currency. That's sort of where I remember we started. Um
It wasn't the I think you should leave. The bones are their money sketch.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know we've joked about that a lot. To the point where I can't remember if it came first
Yeah.
or not.
I'm not sure.
But I mean, I think generally the idea was like theming wise, let's do something that's like a little upsetting.
And it's also like bones, it's already
Um,
slang, right? 50 bones.
yeah. Were there any mistakes in balancing the Shovel Knight economy that directed you to design differently in Mina? Um, I think actually it almost went we did use Shovel Knight, like, as a reference point a lot because in Shovel Knight, it's sort of the same idea where you lose currency, and we had this thought that we should balance it, like we had in Shovel Knight, we made it so, like, you could lose I forget what the number was, but it's like everything in the world costs, like, 50% of the amount of the gold that you needed or something. We expected you to basically buy out everything in the game, like, 5% of the way through the game. And we were sort of using that as a marker on this game a lot, and I think just sort of it wasn't like a good idea. Um, so it's almost the opposite of what you're saying, which is like Shovel Knight wasn't like we're using what we thought worked in Shovel Knight here, and it didn't really make sense.
Yeah, I mean, Shovel Knight is
Um,
just such a much more simple game than this as well. Like, there were so many moving parts in Mina that figuring it all out. I mean, it required more math like this. With Shovel Knight, I think we didn't need to go nearly as deep as we did here.
right? Was balancing in Shovel Knight tough, and is the leveling easier in Mina because of what you learned? Um, I'm not sure what you mean by leveling. Is leveling easier in Mina? But balancing Shovel Knight was tough for sure. I mean, like, I think people to this day still are like, "Oh, you can get I have like a million gold at the end. That's so
Right.
like I wish I
Yeah.
had something to spend it on." Which in the later campaigns we like tried to address more, like King of Cards. There's like always something to buy essentially.
And there's that super
Um,
expensive statue or whatever that you could buy also that's like a zillion gold.
right. Um, yeah. Okay. Is there a reason why the values are floating point numbers? I think you're referring to the spreadsheet, and that's like the basically because 'cause they're percentages, I think. I'm not sure if I'm answering that right. Um,
Yeah, not sure where you saw the floating point.
How did you choose if one item should be expensive and another should cost less?
It could be,
Um,
like, based on where you
I
get it in
mean,
the game, like, if it's later in the game, it's more expensive. It could be if it's a really cool, sweet item that's, like, really good, then it's more expensive. If it's a really cool, sweet item that we want you to get, then maybe we'll make it cheap, you know? Like, that was an important thing too. "Oh, we want you to have the first upgrade. We want you to have the health thing. We want you to have the first keys. So, like, here, take it. Just take it for fire sale on this stuff." Uh,
right, yeah,
yeah.
something we didn't talk about is, like, we wanted you to buy that weapon upgrade, so, like, we made an initial discount, right?
Oh, yeah.
On the weapon upgrades because we were like, "Oh, we want them to be priced that high, but we wanna make sure that someone buys one." Like, maybe they try out another weapon, or they try a weapon upgrade for what they have. We just, like, wanna make sure that gets otherwise, it's gonna be like they maybe never go in there or never do anything there.
Right.
Um yeah, like, another thing that we consider too is, uh, just like oh, I was gonna say I forget. My brain. Um, yeah, we're trying to I mean, it's like, yeah, we have a lot of reasons why, we set the prices to be what they are. But I mean, in general, we did also have like a category of like, this is a trinket. Maybe it should be like around, keys are this kind of price, trinkets are this kind of price.
Yeah.
And
At
we set
at
those
tier
sort of
1,
differently.
at tier
So
2, they're, like, different
right.
prices,
So we
like
like
yeah,
keys like scaled and how much expensive they would be over the course of the game, right? Where trinkets were more like tier one trinkets, tier two trinkets, tier three trinkets, right?
yeah.
Question is, was it a struggle to get people to understand how the converter machine worked? Definitely, I think it still is.
It still is, it still is. Um,
Yeah, I mean, we have, like, an info prompt. We put an info prompt on that machine. Was it right before the demo or during the demo? I forget.
yeah, sometime around the
So you
demo.
could press it and read it, and we also put instructions in the manual for it, and, people just, I think, are a little confused. Everyone ends up getting it. But
Eventually.
it just yeah, eventually they get it. I think it's the combination of the leveling up having Bonestone and the machine going from Bonestone to Bones and the bones and the bones and the Bonestone, like, being similar words. It's just like it just gets
It's
muddled in people's
confusing.
brains
It's
until
it's a
they,
little
like
confusing.
yeah. Okay, let's see, what else we got here? Um, how much economic rebalancing do you expect to do via patching after the game is released? I hope we have to do none.
None, none.
We definitely did we definitely do not intend to do any rebalancing of anything of any but that said, yeah, if everyone in the world was like, "This is freaking crazy," we would probably listen.
It's, like, tested enough
I
that
mean,
at this
we're
point
definitely I would be more worried that we would balance it and throw it off, because we've played it so much and we've played it so many different ways and so many different styles, and we've made sure it worked for everything, that, if you even upset something by, like, 100 bones somewhere, I would be nervous that the whole thing would just stop working.
right, you get a level up at the wrong time and it all just explodes.
Right. I mean, and that's something we put this in and the only way to really test this is to do tons and tons of playthroughs, right? Where it's like I play through it and I'm gonna try not to get any secrets. And I'm gonna see what level am I when I get to, the third stage, or I'm gonna play the game and I'm gonna try to get every secret and what level am I in the third stage, or I'm gonna play the game and I'm gonna buy nothing in the shops and what level am I in the third stage. All these like kind of variants and styles of playing the game. Or I'm gonna die a bunch and lose all my bones all the time and doing all that. Like, yeah, it's just like it's very complicated in terms of how, I go to this stage first, I go to that stage first. So making sure that all works, even if everyone was complaining about it, it'd be hard to know how to adjust it.
Yeah.
Um, oh, Will sequence breaks be tied to items you can buy, like keys in Silksong or Torius Crest in Dark Souls? Um,
Yeah, there's
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, sorta, yeah, sort of. I don't think it's exactly like what you're comparing against. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of ways to sequence break the game.
Mhm.
um, what inspired the decision to have game currency also function as the same as EXP for leveling up? And what are the challenges that came with it?
I think it
I
was from Zelda 2, right? Or like from like older games where you had like it's less currency and fewer things that you had to track overall. And like the
Yeah.
coolest part about it is like having shop prices, experience, enemy like defeating enemies, getting jewels, like everything being all tied into each other, like made it all so much more uh like it must by definition like be more like cohesed, but right because of that it also became like a giant nightmare. And we wanted, I don't know, there are lots of times when you think, oh, adding another currency would help if only, if we had a different if there were a super currency. But no, I'm like proud that we managed to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, the fun of it is that it all interacts, right? Like when you spend it on levels, you're taking away from the shops. Or when you find something in the world, it means, you can do 10 times more things with it, right? But obviously the trade-off is now you have to figure out how to balance it with all those things all at once. It becomes way more complicated, and I think it's more complicated for the player too, right? The same way people don't understand Bonestones and Bones. It's like it's because it's one, we're doing one complicated currency thing, and you have to wrap your head around all the ways that's used.
Right.
How do you balance the player making cosmetic purchases, if there are any? There are a lot of cosmetic purchases in the game, and I don't know how we did this really. I think we generally started with them being higher priced, I think.
Right, but
Sort
then
of
if you
like,
buy one
"Hey, don't
then
get these
it's
because
yeah.
it's" then it just screwed you up, right? And I think we sort of went the other direction, which was, "Oh, let's just make them cheaper. Let's make them like," or I mean, almost not like so cheap, but cheap enough that it's like if you're at that tier, you it might not affect your playthrough, but it might be something you decide not to buy. Um, like, "Oh, I'd rather get one more thing than do that," but, it's like it is cheap. Um, yeah, that was tricky for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I
by
think I
having
think maybe with
low
that
priced
more than
items, I
anything,
think
we sort of
is
just
good.
played it by ear.
Yeah.
Yeah. You keep talking about balancing Mina, but how good is Mina at balancing?
That depends on
I
you,
don't
the
know.
player.
Yeah.
Don't fall off.
All right. That um
Any other questions?
yeah, I think that's maybe it for the not silly and relevant questions to the bones and the currency. Do we got any others? Otherwise, we'll wrap this Yacht Club Games Explains, and I guess, we have a few topics I thought maybe people might wanna vote on because we talked about that last
Oh,
time.
oh, cool. That's cool. What do we got? What do we got?
Okay, next we were thinking about talking about one category would be defying dodges and parries, so basically, like, making a game about positional combat, it's not about dodging and parry,
Right.
that's one. Number 2 would be trinket design, so how we design a trinket, and number 3 would
Maybe
be
similar to sidearm design, which we already
yeah,
did.
number 3 would be weapon design, which is sort of similar to sidearm design also.
Weapon
So you can
design,
choose one of
definitely
those 3.
fun.
Anyone got a how do people vote in here about picking one of those 3?
It's hard to have one more exciting than the experience spreadsheets.
People love spreadsheets.
Eh,
At least they love spreadsheets if you work at Yacht Club Games.
uh, let's see.
Sandy, who works at Yacht Club, works for votes for combat position.
Yeah, I guess there are a lot of spoilers in the trinkets as well. Yeah, even looking
Oh,
at this,
there's gonna start a poll.
Oh, sweet.
Thank you, whoever's running the channel.
Even looking at all these spreadsheets, it was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of there are a lot of different like
Different types of
categories. Yeah,
spreadsheets.
yeah.
Yeah, we gotta dive into another spreadsheet. We could just
Okay.
say, another spreadsheet is the fourth category.
We got hundreds.
Yeah, you should like just flip through some spreadsheets
Okay, I'm gonna flip through some spreadsheets while we
while
look at
we
the
wait
poll.
for a poll.
While we look at the poll. Mm, mm, mm. Oh wait, that's yours.
Oh, say the three again, but slower. There's defying, dodge, and parry. That's number one. There's trinket design, number two. And there's weapon design, number three.
Look at all these save data transfer, localization testing, smoke testing. What could we click around on? It's
Some
this is all too
shops.
it's all too spoilery. It's all too spoilery.
Is it too spoilery?
Yeah, I mean,
How about
even the
enemies? Can you just show an enemies thing? Is that too
we could just look at.
spoilery?
I mean, we could look at the enemies. Yeah, that part is.
Oh
But that's.
yeah, this is
I
a good
mean,
one. This is like how we decided how many rewards would go in each section. These are all the enemy brainstorms.
yeah, this one's fun. And all of these ideas were also like. I mean, I don't. This is like stuff we didn't end up doing. This is just like millions and millions of ideas, and we went through them all, and said yes or no.
Someone asked, wouldn't trinket and weapon design both be spoilers? I mean, everything here we're talking about is a little bit of spoiler.
Everything's gonna be
Um,
spoilers.
yeah, we're trying to obviously not go too too deep in the game's like story and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't want to click around here too much more. It is like a little bit too spoilery, I think. Um, should look at more Zelda stuff. They even mentioned here that the Japanese version, just like I was saying. And if you lose all of your lives in the
No,
Japanese version of
we're
Zelda
doing the next
2,
one tomorrow. I thought we're doing the next one tomorrow. Right?
I sure, I'm ready. Let's do it. Boom. And we could just do the
Um,
least spoil. Well, we could do the least spoilery one.
yeah, but
Or we could
yeah,
talk about designing the whip or whatever. I mean,
yeah, we could do, a basic weapon.
yeah.
All right, what did our poll end up? Where are the results? I don't know where to look. Well, I guess someone, oh no, here it is. 62% dodge and parry wins.
Whoa.
Okay, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. I hope everyone enjoyed this Yacht Club Games Explains, and we'll do another one tomorrow, probably in the morning.
Yeah,
And tell
cool.
all your friends.
Thank you so much, everybody, for
Thanks for
we'll look
joining.
at more spreadsheets and do more game dev. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.
All right, bye.